Hello everybody, my name is Ilya.
And my name is Tyler. Together we make up Kovray, a couple that loves to play board games.
So many board games.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is our Check It Out series where we showcase various games to you in hopes of inspiring you to try to play them.
This week, we're taking a look at Land vs. Sea. Check it out! Check it out! Check it out! So, Land vs. Sea is published by Good Games Publishing, and it's designed by John-Paul Jacques.
Now Land vs. Sea, you'll take the role of either the land or the sea, or sometimes a cartographer in a 3-player game. You'll be placing tiles in hopes of enclosing areas and being strategic of the area that you play them in, because you may be able to score more points from additional scoring.
Exactly. But let's take a quick look at how to play this game.
Now as always, you'll begin by setting up. For a 2-player game, you'll choose whether you're playing land or sea. You'll then each draft from the 2 piles until each player has 2 tiles. Now each tile is double-sided, but you can only see the one side before you pick. This game is played in turns. Your goal is to enclose areas of land or sea to score points and have the most by the end of the game. On your turn, you'll play a tile, ensuring that each connected edge matches. You'll then use actions if your tile has one, allowing you either to play another tile or to steal one from an opponent. Now, if you've enclosed a complete area of land or sea, that area scores. You'll score 1 point per tile contributing to the land or sea, as well as if you're the one to finish that space, you'll get all the X's within it. Now, if you're playing with waypoints, this is the time to place them. Waypoints allow you to score additional points and maybe entice opponents to finish off areas. You'll then draw back up to 2 tiles and continue playing until the last tile has been played. The player with the most points at that point will win the game. And that's essentially the core of the game. Now what is this volcano and whirlpool tile? Well, if you ever enclose a space that has all the same edges, you'll get to claim it and finish off that space, scoring points either for land or sea, but you will score all those 6 X's in the middle. There's also additional scoring you can use to spice up your game. Mountains of corals will get you to aim to build connections of each of them to score additional points throughout the game. Now caravan and ships will gain you additional points for adjacent placement, but also act as a tug and pull for final scoring. Caravan supporting the team land and ship supporting team sea. Now this isn't only a 2-player game, it supports 3 and 4 players. With 3 players, a cartographer is added. And for each of the additional scoring, there are different rules to support that position. Now if you're playing with 4 players, you'll play on teams, but you may not show anyone the hidden side of your tiles, not even your teammates. And that's Land vs. Sea. So what do you think?
Really cool game. I like the idea, although that it seems like a very focused on a 2-player game, that you can branch out to 3 and 4. And yeah, it reminds me of an area control game where you're really just trying to encourage the other team to build smaller places by surrounding them, which I find very fun.
Yeah, I think what deceived me a little bit was it definitely looked quite lighter, but then there's so many additional ways of scoring, there's so many various ways you can involve different player counts, and it's very well thought out. So it's definitely won my heart for sure.
Yeah, I will say that the one thing I thought was really neat about the game is the fact that the tiles are double-sided, but when they're laid out, of course, you have access to see what one side is, but you don't know what the other one will be. So it's like in part a gamble, but you can like safely take the one that you know you'll be able to play. And yeah, I really like that.
The board is also used as a scoring track, which is really neat. The box is used as a scoring track, which is really neat. And yeah, the art in these tiles is just unbelievable.
Beautiful.
It almost like traps you in the game, because all of a sudden you're just so fixated on the cool art and the cool features that you even lose point of where you were trying to put the tile.
Exactly. And the funny thing too is like, at first I was like, wow, it's so cool that there's all these camels and ships on the tiles. And then later on, after we were like, oh, there's more variants, you can play specifically with those pictures because they add a new scoring variant to the game, which is very cool.
Layers to the game for sure.
Yeah.
So why should you check this out?
Well, the simplicity of this behind this game is you just draft tiles and place tiles. So it's super easy to teach, it's super easy to pick up and set up. So if you're interested in an area control-esque game, because it's not, I wouldn't call it full area control, and you like tile placing, then this is definitely a game worth checking out.
So it's a great game to introduce to those folks that don't necessarily always play board games, because there's so many ways to level this game up and add additional scoring and add more complexity to a point where it is really like thinky and really meaty, where you do want to kind of really think your thoughts through before placing tiles, because every tile you place is very important.
Mm-hmm. And kind of like I said, and even to add on to your point, is because it feels like land versus sea, it sounds like it's a two-player game, right? It's the land, it's versus the sea. But they've done such a good job incorporating a third player into it, and then with 4 players, you play as a team, which is
actually cool fun.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Me and Tyler are unbeatable. Challenge accepted.
It's mostly Ilya's unbeatable. I'm rather terrible at this game.
When we're a team, we're okay.
Yeah.
I love building like the big blocks because it's so satisfying to finish off and get so many points. It just feels so good. So if you're seeking that feeling too of like the grandiose, let's build a big pile of land, it's pretty neat.
On the other hand, though, if you're looking for a subtle take that, this game
definitely
works well because you can close people off from scoring huge amounts of points and give them just like 2 or 3 instead.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't you check it out?
Well, I think in this game, because there's a little bit of that take that, there are times where your opponent's going to be going and trying to build this glorious big piece of land, and it's not very opportune for you to let them do that. So you're going to extend that and make it a bit more frustrating for them and create some little bit of conflict, which not everybody loves. So if you're conflict averse, maybe this game isn't for you, especially in a 2-player setting too.
Yeah, it's very interesting because you can place a tile to either close it off and let them score a small amount of points, or you can make it even bigger so it's harder for them to close. So it's very interesting and strategic in that sense.
I always close it off. Or not close it off, open it up.
I was going to say, what are you talking
I
about?
open it up so Tyler never finishes it.
Yeah, it's very difficult. But the other thing about this game is because it's a tile placing game and it's simply just drafting, the game can get a little repetitive. It's fairly straightforward and simple, so if you're looking for something that's a little more heavier, land versus sea is probably something you want to avoid. But, yeah.
And then last but not least too, I think now having played it at various player counts, various scoring modes, I find it difficult to pick what we want to play. Like with which various scoring modes. Like I feel like it feels a little bit too messy almost. Like there's so many things to kind of add that I wish it was a little bit more concise in that sense. But maybe that's a rule book. I don't know.
Maybe the reason for that too is the fact that it's one of those games that doesn't take that short of amount of time that it feels like you can play every single different variability game.
Yes.
You have to really like sit down, pick, and then it feels like once you're done, you either want to move on to another game or you just don't have enough time to play another one.
And there is a fair bit of setup too, because there's a lot of kind of moving parts, and shuffling tiles is a little bit tough.
Yeah.
So for the shorter game that this is, that could be maybe something.
Not the worst thing.
Not the worst.
Yes, I do see what you're saying.
So overall,
really good game. I particularly like the 2-player variant. I think it's exciting to kind of like duke it out. I'm terrible at this game though, but that's besides the point. It's just it's pretty cool.
Yeah, tile placement games always have a big place in my heart. I'm always a fan, and this one is the same as all the other ones. I really enjoy the art that is in the tiles. You really can get fixated on it. Also with various additional scoring, it becomes really tricky to find like the best move because there's so many things you have to pay attention to, and the fact that the way that you place can benefit your opponent as well makes it really clever, and definitely makes me want to come back to it and kind of optimize to see if I can do better.
Yeah, that is a really good point. I think I'll just add that again more to the 2-player variant, but also the fact that it feels as if it's a completely different game at every single player count that you do play it at. So props to Good Games Publishing for doing that, and really appreciate it.
Yeah. So for our question of the day,
are you land or sea?
What does that mean?
Are you team land or are you team sea?
I am team sea. Because I feel like the water is just such a cool place. There's so many things under there you never know until you touch them with your toes.
And then it's scary, hence why I am team land.
Well, let us know in the comments down below what team are you, or if there's maybe a third beyond the cartographer. Maybe there's team space.
Oh.
No, that's too tricky. That's 4 dimensions, 3 dimensions. No, too much.
One or the other.
Too much. Well, thank you so much for watching.
If you like this video, hit that thumbs up, press that subscribe button, do all those wonderful things that YouTube really appreciates and that we really appreciate from you folks.
We always love hearing from you, building our little community, and we can't wait to show you our next videos that are to come.
Exactly. But until next time, this is us checking out.
Goodbye.
Bye.